Good morning, everyone. My name is Thiago Rodrigues. It's a pleasure to be here presenting my paper for you. And the paper that I will explain today is the Exploratory Evaluation of Dry Ports in Northeast of Brazil. It's a research and joint between Federal University of Pernambuco in Brazil and University of Sharjah in UAE. And the paper ID is 169. So let's start with a brief about what we are talking about in this presentation with the outline. First, we present the problem statement, theoretical background that we will apply to conduct this research, the methods, results, and discussion, finalizing with the conclusion and acknowledgements and references cited in this presentation. So I try to be short in this presentation and focus on the main proposal of the paper, and the problems that we identified is about the discussion about dry ports in Brazil and other developing economies that are still in the early stage, because almost all the research conducted until now was did in Asian countries like China and European countries, and there is no research about dry ports in northeast of Brazil, so it's a literature gap. So we try to fix it, and the solution is conduct exploratory research about dry ports in Brazil, focus on the northeast region to answer two research questions. The first one is how could be classified the dry ports in northeast of Brazil, and which are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of dry ports in northeast of Brazil. It's a simple SWOT analysis, because this research is the first step of our project to identify the best factors that influence dry ports in the decision-making context. So the theoretical background that we present here is first the four kinds of classification of dry ports. And considering the main authors about this subject, Roosevelt 2009 classified the dry ports considering the distance to seaport in close, medium, or long distance dry ports. Beresford classified dry ports into three groups: seaport-based, city-based, and border dry ports. Between Wilmsmeyer et al. 2011 classified the cargo flow of dry ports in inside out and outside in. The last one, and Rodrigues classified dry ports considering the transport modes in unimodal, bimodal, and trimodal. All the references are described in our paper in detail, so if you want to know more about that, all the information will be in our paper. And I bring this background theoretical just to cite what we will apply in our classification results. So the method that we apply to answer the two research questions: first, the exploratory research allowed to classify the four northeast dry ports following the definitions presented. So how we focus on the northeast region in Brazil, there are four dry ports located in Salvador and Recife city. All data was obtained through interviews, institutional websites, and federal revenue reports to achieve the classification of those dry ports. And to answer the research question 2, we conducted two case studies following a semi-structured questionnaire in two dry ports in Recife city, and the interviews were carried on personally with 6 dry ports managers during August 2019, and the discussion was on the main factors that involve Brazilian dry ports following the SWOT analysis approach. So the results that we achieved with this research: the first research question that we classified the 4 dry ports in northeast of Brazil was to identify that all those dry ports have the same characteristics and the same kind of operation. So all those was classified as close distance dry ports. So they are near the main seaports of each region, attending to support the cargo distribution and the logistic operations in those areas. And all the dry ports were also classified based on seaport based, and using only the unimodal transport mode, using mailing roadways to transfer the container cargo through dry port to seaports. It is because in Brazil there are no railways infrastructure to carry on the container cargo through, which is not a good thing to Brazil, and it's a challenge for us to improve this mode of transportation. And the last characteristic was that the cargo flow was outside in all those dry ports focused on import cargoes. So in Brazil we usually export more commodities and import more final products like technology, and so the dry ports attend the container cargo mostly in the import cargoes. Another results now to answer the research question 2, conducting the 2 case studies in the dry ports. We identified that the main strengths of both dry ports concern about the logistic solutions, offering a better price to the customers with low storage cost, and reducing the total logistical cost in the supply chain, and acting in strategic locations near the main customers at the region. So in Brazil, usually the importer and exporter are near the seaport. So the dry ports near the seaports also achieve the main objective to be near the customer and attend those necessities personally. About the weakness that we identified, that is the managed demand variation and bureaucratic process. So in Brazil there are bureaucratic process and manual process that we need to improve. And another weakness is because using a dry port as a logistic option, you add another player in the logistic chain, so it can be difficult to manage one more player in the logistic chain. As opportunities, we identify that handling special cargo like overhead and breakable cargo is a good issue for dry ports in Brazil, and so you can improve your benefits and offer additional services for the customers. It's a competitive differential because the seaport handles so the dry port can manage the special cargo and offer these services for the customers. About the threats, we identified that legislations change, new competitors in the supply chain, the dollar fluctuation rate, and national and state economy are the main threats about dry ports. So nowadays how we are living kind of crisis in Brazil because the dollar fluctuation are too high, the dollar taxes are exchange are too high compared to real in Brazil, so the importers stop to buy from other countries, and the economy slow down, and this affects directly the dry ports in Brazil that manage mainly import cargoes. So, considering all the results commented above, we can talk about the results that show similarities between the dry parts of the Northeast region, and all of them was classified as the same classification when we commented above. And regarding the another thing that we identified, like some authors disregarding dry parts in Brazil in those research, considering that in Brazil the dry parts are not connected by rails with the seaport. So we understand that it's a mistake, because the Brazilian dry ports have important issues in the supply chain logistics of the country, offering differential service for the customers and logistic solutions. So the dry ports in Northeast Brazil are specialized in those additional personalized logistic solutions, reducing bureaucratic process and the occupancy in seaports, what made the supply chain more efficient. And however, in Brazil, the scenario changes when the demand decreases and dry ports and seaports start to compete for storage cargo. It's a problem that happens in Brazil, because when the import cargo decrease, the seaports reduce the rate to keep the storage cargo in the seaport. So it affects the dry ports, and it's a subject that we will focus on the next research that we will conduct. And to conclude with the paper, presented a preliminary study about dry ports in Brazil, trying to fulfill the literature gap that we identified. It was realized in exploratory research for dry ports in northeast of Brazil, and we conduct 2 case studies using a SWOT approach to discuss evidence that in Brazil dry ports are directly influenced by the country's political and economic situation, and we identified that with a slow and bureaucratic process, exporting and import cargo by container in Brazil, despite having a growth in the last few years, is still a challenge for the government and policymakers. So, to conclude, we want to thank you, the FACEP, that supported us during this research, and this paper is the first step of our project, and we will enrich the discussion about dry ports and logistics infrastructure in Brazil in the next papers that we will conduct the next research. So thank you for having me, and all the best.